Okay, so welcome along everyone. Thank you for joining to this Sage 200 coffee break session. My name's Tom McEntee. I am account manager here at Eureka Solutions. Um, it's a pleasure to have you all along this morning. Just to go through a little bit of the agenda for this morning's session. We're just going to have a little introduction to Eureka Solutions, so why we're doing this morning's webinar today. A little bit introduction on us, our experience with Sage 200. We'll then do an introduction to Sage 200 itself, looking at some of the different areas within Sage 200 that might differ from some of the starter solutions that are out there. And then we'll go into a little demonstration of Sage 200. So we'll look at the financials, and we'll also look at some of the stock control and order process, and amongst other parts of Sage 200 as well. And then at the end, we will have a short Q&A. So if there are any questions that you have throughout this morning's session, please do ask away in the chat facility. My colleague Jamie will be on hand to ask any questions that you may have on this morning's webinar. So if you have got a question, please do pop them into the chat and we will get those answered at the end of the session. Anything I can't answer, of course, we will certainly get back to you in due course and as soon as we can, but hopefully I will be able to answer any questions that you have this morning. Alrighty, so starting a little bit then about Eureka Solutions and why Eureka Solutions for Sage 200. So Sage 200, just to bring everyone into the picture, is sold through its network of business partners. So for the likes of Sage 50, you may go to Sage Direct, but with Sage 200, it is sold through its kind of trusted network of business partners, to which we are one of the leading ones. We were founded back in 2004 in the current format and have been a Sage business partner and leading developer in that time. So we've got over 140, maybe approaching 150 now, successful Sage 200 implementations over that time. We also do the ongoing support of the system. So we would take you through the whole process of selecting Sage 200, going through the kind of pre-sale demonstration, scoping, making sure that it fits your requirements and it fits exactly what you need the system to do. We would then go through the whole scoping phase with our implementation team, making sure that the system is set up and configured based upon those kind of demonstrations and pre-sale scoping that we had. We would go through the whole process of making sure the system's trained. We would go through the whole after sales as well. So we'll get on to that as we go through the session this morning and look at how the relationship would work after you go live with Sage 200 as well. So as I said, we're not just a partner for Sage 200, we're also an award-winning developer for Sage 200 as well. So as we go through this morning, you'll see that we've got a bank of add-ons that Sage 200 sites up and down the country use. So we'll look at maybe some of those as we go through the short slides this morning. As I say, we are based up in Scotland. So as you can probably hear from my accent, we are based just outside of Glasgow and East Kilbride. But we've got quite a lot of remote staff as well. So our footprint is actually all across the UK. And certainly we would do any kind of implementation work if needed on site. It used to be we'd always do implementation on site before the likes of COVID came along and Teams got more popular, but we're very much want to go out on site and do work. And that comes into our two kind of founding core principles, which are technical expertise and customer service. They are in the whole blueprint of the business. It's ingrained into every member of staff, to which we've got over 75 now and probably approaching 80 staff. And the majority of these are actually in technical roles. So for example, I'm doing this webinar today in account management and sales at Eureka, but I've also worked on our Sage support team, done some implementation work. So a lot of our staff are trained across different areas of the business to make sure that we can meet those two founding principles, which are technical expertise and customer service. They're really are at the heart of what we do. So big enough that we can support all of our 150 plus Sage 200 customers, but small enough you will start to get to know members of the team in terms of the support team, the implementation team, and of course you would have your account manager who would look after you through the duration of the relationship with Eureka Solutions, if you're using Sage 200. And going back to those two founding principles of technical expertise and customer service, I guess they're both kind of demonstrated in our 9.7 out of 10 customer score. Now, what does that actually mean in practice? So every time a support case for Sage 200 is closed by our skilled support team, that a questionnaire sent out to the customer to fill out around about how efficient the service was, how well the problem was understood, and how good a service ultimately was provided. So we're sitting at 9.7 out of 10 for that, and that's with nearly 8,000 reviews. Now, these are published live on our website, so you can go on there to see the good and also the odd bad review, and all of those just give us room for improvement. So we're sitting at 9.7 out of 10, so we'd highly recommend going and have a wee look at some of the reviews, and it's something we're always striving to improve on. So as touched on, we've got the catalogue of add-ons that I'll come on to in a wee second, and we're also an integration specialist. So we had a product for Sage 200 called Data Exchange. That was an on-premise solution that has now grown to become what's now known as Basincly, which is a cloud-based integration platform that can help you integrate third-party systems, for example, e-commerce solutions, to Sage 200. So it's something that we can discuss further as we go through the webinar this morning. So that's just a little bit about Eureka Solutions and who we are and our experience as a Sage 200 partner. But what about what our customers say? So this is just some of our customers, as you can see there. We've got customers who are across a wide range of industries, and I guess that kind of demonstrates how flexible Sage 200 is, that it can be catered to many different industries and many different verticals. So, for example, Western Ferries, who operate ferries in Scotland, Neogen, who are a big manufacturer, and we've also got Goals. If we've got any keen five-a-side football players on the webinar this morning, I'm sure you'll be familiar with them. They are up and down the UK and run the biggest kind of five-a-side football centres across the UK. And that's just a nice comment from John Breslin at Kelvin Power Tools about how Eureka can intervene to make Sage work the way they needed to. So that kind of tailor-made customer service that we provided the guys at Kelvin Power Tools. So going on to then the product, so we've looked a wee bit at how we can implement and how we can help with Sage 200, a bit about our experience and our customer base for Sage 200, but what actually is Sage 200? And that's what we're kind of looking at this morning, an introduction to Sage 200. There might be some on the webinar this morning who are maybe using the likes of Sage 50, maybe Xero, QuickBooks, amongst other kind of starter solutions. So what actually is Sage 200? Well, it's an all-encompassing piece of software. It's always been a financials driven software at heart, along with lots of Sage products. It's a sound accounting system. So, for example, your sales ledger, purchase ledger, your nominal ledger, and cash book, of course, is all within the system. And everything else in the system will all come back to your financials. So everything will be integrated, making sure that any kind of order processing things all link back to your financials. And touched there on order processing, that's where we come into looking at some of our commercials modules. So, for example, managing POs, managing sales orders, managing invoicing and the stock management. And that's a really big area for Sage 200 and probably where it sets it apart from some of the starter solutions that are out there, because you can really start to do a lot more complex stock management, including batch and serial numbers, potential integration to warehouse management systems. And then that can be extended even further to the likes of bill of materials. So providing combined stock assemblies. For example, if you had a bike, you would need the wheels, you would need the frame, you would need the tyres. How do we put that together into a bill of materials? That's all available within Sage 200. And also project account as well. So if you're running projects that you want to know the profitability of and how they're going from a financial sense, then you can certainly do that within Sage 200 with Sage's project accounting module. And there's also a breadth of other areas that you can add on to Sage 200. Now, Sage has a wide range of what they call their tech partners. So I mentioned before that we have add-ons, which I'll look at in a little second, but they have many tech partners, for example, Sycon and Racer, who provide modules such as manufacturing, document management. So Sage 200 can really grow with you as the business grows. So you could maybe start off with financials, maybe the commercials, and maybe in time you might grow into using further solutions for the likes of manufacturing, the likes of barcoding and warehousing. That is all available within the Sage 200 stack of their offering. I mentioned before that Eureka Solutions, we are more than just a partner for Sage, we are also a developer. So over our must be around 15 to 20 years experience with Sage products, we have developed a number of add-ons to basically just enhance the functionality that's already within Sage 200. So you can see here the likes of the Plus Pack, which has over 90 Sage 200 enhancements. We've got Sales Order Plus Pack and Purchase Order Plus to try and make that order processing more efficient for those who need it. We've got the likes of Stock Plus and Courier Link for those who need to link to certain couriers, and as well as that, we've got the likes of Warranty Service Repairs, and I'd mentioned before our Data Exchange product. So we've got a breadth of add-ons that can help complement Sage 200, just to take it to that next level in terms of processing and maybe some of those areas that you want to slightly enhance. So we've got a number of add-ons that are not just sold to our customers, but also sold across the channels. So we've got hundreds and hundreds of sites across the UK who are making use of our Sage 200 add-ons, and it's something that we can discuss further with you as we go in further into Sage 200 and scope out requirements to see if some of these might be needed. Of course, we'll try and keep the system as vanilla as possible, but if these add-ons are needed, it's always great to know they're there in case there's an area where they might be needed. Touched a little bit about this when we touched a little bit on Eureka and our implementation expertise. So this is just a little about the process of how you would get from some of the kind of starter solutions. So I think there will be, as I say, some on the call who are maybe using the likes of Sage 50 and QuickBooks Zero, and may be outgrown those slightly. So how does it actually look that we would get from one of those systems to Sage 200, and how does that work in practice? So this is the kind of Eureka Solutions process that we would go through for implementation. But in reality, it actually starts before that step one of configuration. As I said previously, we would go through quite a rigorous kind of pre-sale stage. And when I say rigorous, that doesn't mean it's cumbersome in any way. It's just that we would certainly make sure that all your requirements and everything that you need from the system is fully scoped before you even get to the point of signing off. So we'll go through numerous demonstrations, numerous sessions, discovery sessions to make sure that we fully understand your business and fully understand what you need from the system, and in this case, Sage 200. Once you are keen to go ahead and you want to press ahead with Sage 200, you feel that it's the system to take forward, then we would go through this process that you can see on the screen just now. So we go through that configuration of Sage 200, we would sort layouts and reports. Of course, that is a massive piece of any software implementation. The system has to get out the information that you need to be able to distribute to people around the business. Number 3 would be the user training. Of course, Sage 200 is a lot bigger and more all-encompassing system, as we'll see in the demonstration. So we would go through that whole training phase with you, making sure that users are fully trained up and make sure that they're comfortable with the system before they go live. So it's not a case of buying Sage 200 and then you're left to your own devices. We'll certainly be there with you to go through this whole training phase. After that, we'll go through some user acceptance testing. huge part of the implementation process where users are encouraged to do their day-to-day tasks as well as they can on Sage 200. If there are any issues that crop up in terms of, well, I'm not too sure how I'll go to the next stage, how's this going to work, then we would go through that with you to make sure that that you're in a position that you're really comfortable to go live. So the testing phase is a big part of the implementation before then getting to that go live stage. Now again, we wouldn't just leave you on your own devices to go live with a new system. We would certainly be there most of the time, probably on site with you to make sure that the go live goes as smoothly as possible. And it means if there are any questions that crop up through the go live, something that you want to ask, something's maybe not stuck with the training, it just means that we're there for any questions and any assistance you have. And as I say, that post go live support as well. So once you go live, it's not a case of, well, there you go, it's all finished. You would have access to our support team. You would have access to your account manager who would constantly in contact just to make sure that everything was going well. And if there was anything that you needed from us, that we were here to support you. So it's very much a whole all-encompassing implementation process from this stage in terms of discovering what Sage 200 can do, right through to implementation and after sales support in terms of our day-to-day support team and your account manager. So we'll definitely be with you through the whole duration of the relationship. And that's again all comes back to our two founding principles, which we're always built on, which is technical expertise and customer service. So I will pop in now. You'll be glad to know that's the end of the slides, but I hope that's given a nice flavour for Eureka Solutions and how we work with Sage and how we implement Sage 200. Also dived into a little bit around the software in terms of what Sage 200 can offer. But I guess now we will jump into the solution to start looking at Sage 200. So I hope you can all see Sage 200 on the screen at the moment. If you cannot, please pop in the chat or please shout up if you can, and I'll get that sorted. But hopefully you should be able to see Sage 200 on the screen. So this is Sage 200. So for those who aren't familiar with Sage products, you can tailor this menu down as much as you want. So I've got everything switched on today, so you can see every module or most modules that are available with Sage 200 all on the screen at the moment. So you can see the likes of bill materials and project accounting, which I touched on in the slides, but you can tailor this down as much as you need. It might be that you only have staff who want to be able to maybe look at the supplier list, or they might only be able to raise purchase invoices. So we would map out with you in terms of what roles people should be assigned to. There might be a few that are in an admin role. There might be some that can only see certain areas of the system. So the system's flexible enough that you can certainly tailor down what each individual or group of individuals see within the system. Now, as I said in the slide, it's an all-encompassing piece of software. So we said in the slides where we went through there, we've got our financials modules, so your sales ledger, purchase ledger, nominal ledger, and your cash book. We also have then our commercials modules, so looking at stock control and sales order processing and purchase order processing and the pricing of our products as well. So as I say, it's all included within Sage 200, and you can pick and choose in terms of what modules you need. So do you need the commercials pack or do you just need this for the financials? Either is absolutely fine. So what we'll do this morning, we'll go through a kind of whistle-stop tour of Sage 200. And of course, if you need more in the way of demonstrations or you want to find out more about certain modules, please do not hesitate to reach out after, and we can certainly arrange a demonstration. But what we'll do this morning is just go through a wee whistle-stop tour of some of the areas within Sage 200. Now, touching on the kind of usability standpoint of Sage, you can easily search the menu. If you wanted to find something within the system, you can use the search bar. And there's also this nice favourites tab as well. So as we go through this morning, I can show you how to build up your favourites tab. It might be that you're just doing certain things day to day. So you might want to just build up your favourites and say, this is what I'm doing every day to save you going through the menus. So we'll start off by looking at our nominal ledger. And as I said before, the Sage 200 as all Sage products really are all built on a sound accounting system. So probably the main difference between the likes of Sage 50 and Sage 200 from a financials point of view is there's a lot more scope to get better reports out of the system. So as you can see here, we've got our nominal structure, which we can work with you. You may have a nominal structure that you have within your current system, or you might want to use a migration to Sage 200 as an opportunity to amend the nominal in a different way. So you can add the likes of cost centres and departments. So you might want to split down your nominal and report on certain locations within the business. So you can see here we've got our Scottish cost centre, also got a London cost centre, and then you can split that down even further by department. So it just means that we can get a little bit more granular with the reporting. So if we want to run, say, a P&L by department, or we want to run a P&L just by this cost centre, so we can assess how each division of the business is getting on. And of course, it doesn't need to be by location. It could be split in whatever way that suits your business best. So if you wanted to split in a totally different way, or you wanted to report in a different way, then you can use this three-tier nominal structure to be able to get those granular reports that you're looking for. Now, of course, there's a breadth of reports that you can run within this. So within your nominal ledger, you can set up budgets against all your different nominal codes, and there's also all your financial statements. So if I'm just looking at financial statements folder, you can see here there is quite a lot of different reports that you can run. So for example, your classics, your TB, your profit and loss, your balance sheet, and you can run those in a breadth of different ways. So you might want to just run a summary, or you want like the full detail. You might want to then filter that down by cost centre, by department. So you can run these reports and filter them based upon what you want to run. So you can run the profit and loss, for example, your detailed profit and loss, and that should come up then to run your profit and loss. You can choose your accounting period, you can choose the cost centre department, and you can choose your currency. If I just run it here, we can run our profit and loss, and that comes out on our screen in front of us. And we can easily print, we can easily email this out, we can send the data to Excel, there's direct links into Excel. So an important point worth mentioning, of course, we want to get as much out of the system as we can just from the system, but Excel, all my life that I've been working in accounting systems, no matter if it's Sage or others, all want to link to Excel. It's ingrained within finance professionals to use Excel at some stage. So we can send the report to Excel, we can send the data to Excel, and that's the same across any report that we run. Obviously, this is our profit and loss, but any report that we run within Sage 200 can then be sent out to Excel if we wanted to. And of course, it can be easily printed, emailed, and distributed to anyone we need as well. Alrighty, so another area within our nominal ledger is our fixed assets register, which has been added, so you can easily look after your fixed assets, amend, depreciate, and dispose of those. And it just gives a simple way of running your fixed assets register. From our experience of speaking to those on kind of starter solutions, this is something that's sometimes predominantly done on spreadsheets, so it's something that can be then brought into the system. So that's just a quick tour of the nominal ledger and how we can set up cost centre departments. But what else does Sage 200 offer from a financial point of view? So another big area of Sage 200 is it's all driven on period accounting. So some starter solutions that I have worked with or seen in the past that customers have migrated from are maybe more of a blank canvas where you can post into basically any period that you want, and there's no kind of concept of period accounting. But in Sage 200, we can open and close our periods as we go through. So giving you that rigid month-end process and making sure everything's a bit more structured in terms of your accounts. Now you can see I'm a little bit behind here. I think we're back in February, but you can close all the periods down as the month comes to an end, and you can go through that full month-end and eventually year-end process. So this is something that is a big change from Sage 50 is a good example where it's one of those kind of open book where it doesn't have the sense of period accounting. So that's really good for finance individuals that want to have a bit more rigidness around about their month end and year end processes, and making sure that transactions are posted into the correct period, meaning that our reports at the end of it are all accurate in terms of what we've done month to month. All right. We'll come out there. Looking at our kind of customers and suppliers then. So if I just look at our customer list, so this is what is known as our list view. So we saw that when we looked at our nominal list. We saw the list, we saw the different columns. Now these are all amendable, and you'll see this list view come up all across Sage 200. So when I look at stock or purchases, purchase orders, you'll always have this list. And of course, it will be tailored then to each individual module within Sage 200. So I can easily change the columns that we see here. We've got different analysis codes that I'll get into in a second. We can pop in contact emails, first name, or indeed we can take them off if we wanted to as well. So if we just wanted to see Euro trading account, for example, or the name, we didn't really care about the code, we can easily take that off. So it's really amendable in terms of what you want to see. We can also set up filters within this, so we can see Anne's customers here. I just want to see it by Anne's, so we can pop in Anne's customers filter, and that will just show customers for Anne. So we can set up filters really easily. So if we wanted to create a new one, we can see where, for example, we would want to maybe say where the account type is equal to, and we can pop in any kind of type that we want. So we can easily set up filters to get us quick information based on parameters that we set. And that saves you having to run any reports. You can just get that simply from your list view. If we just look quickly at our customer accounts, we can see what we can hold against a customer. So if I look at Abbey Retail, for example, you can see here we can start to add a lot more information about our customers. And this is the same on our supplier side as well. So we can have all our classic company information. We can have as many contacts as we need. And I know that's something from the likes of Sage 50 users again, that we can only have kind of one contact against the customer in there. So we can have as many contacts as we need, and we can say, is this who we send our statements to? Is this who the key account is? And we've got all this information that we can hold. We've got these analysis codes. So down here, you can see at the bottom of the screen. And again, we looked at cost centers and departments in the nominal section. And these analysis codes add to that idea of being able to get out more flexible reports and having more flexibility in terms of more granular reports. So there might be information that's not necessarily a Sage 200 field, but is really important for our business. So for example, it's important to me that I know what region each customer's in. So I can set up an analysis code to say what region the customer belongs to. Now, it might be the region's not important to you, but the country is important to you. So you might want to change that to country. What I'm trying to say is that these analysis codes are totally amendable by the user. You can have up to 20 of these, and they can be whatever information that you want to store against a customer, a supplier, it might be a stock item. You'll see them coming up all across Sage 200. So we can set up lists, or we can maybe just write free text if we wanted to. So there's lots of options that you can do. And again, that is to make your reports at the end. So if you wanted to run any sort of customer reports, it's to make them more granular. For example, you might just want to run a report based on your customers in Scotland. So we have a customer that's got customers all across Scotland, so they've got them in each different council area. So they've got an analysis code to that as local council, and they can segment the reports that way. And you've got all your payment, credit terms, documents, attachments if you wanted to add anything across, memos, and pricing. So we can set up pricing bands against our customers as well. So there's a lot that we can hold against customers and indeed suppliers. So I'll just come out of there. And again, there are a raft of reports that you can run. So we looked at some of the nominal reports that we could run. So that was the likes of our financial statements. But in our sales ledger, you've got your aged debtors in loads of different formats. So helping with that credit chasing, debtor letters, statements that you can send. So these are all pre-built within Sage 200. Now, of course, you can amend the layout of those and the look of those, and we can help you with that. But they're all out of the box reports, meaning they're already there. You don't need to manually set them up. These are all pre-built reports within Sage 200. And the same goes on the supplier side when we look at suppliers within Sage 200. So you can see here I've got one of those filters on. I've got Tom's filter to just show a select number of suppliers. If I put no filter, you can see I can get them all. Again, highlighting the ease of using the filters to get information out. Again, we've got a raft of reports that we can run from the supplier side. So, for example, not aged debtors now, it's an aged creditors report. We've got a day book, due date reports, time taken to pay purchases and to pay our suppliers. So again, there's a breadth of reports that are all ready to go out the box. And again, we can amend those to make them more tailored to what you need. And it gives us a starting block to create some custom reports for you. There's a report designer within Sage that we can make use of to make sure that reports are tailored for what you need. Of course, all your certain invoices, all your purchase invoices, rapid invoices, payments, allocations can all be done within the system. And there's loads of different ways to actually do it. So you can see here, I've got an invoice button up the top. I've also got this enter transactions to enter invoices. So there's always loads of ways to get around the system. One of the things that I'm going a little bit off the cuff here, but one of the things I love about the purchase ledger in Sage 200 is the payment processing. So we can generate a suggested payments file based upon kind of due dates for invoices, with the key word being suggested. So I can always amend the suggestions that have been made. So if I choose AV Cookers, for example, we can see all the invoices, the outstanding invoices that the system's suggesting that we pay. Again, keyword suggested. We can go through and pay all, pay none. We can maybe pay some of them, so we can go through and choose what ones we want to pay. But the system's doing the legwork. We don't need to run an aged creditors and go through it with a fine tooth comb and see who we want to pay. The system will do the heavy lifting for us. And then that we can make use of bank feeds and e-banking to get a file out in your bank's format. So most major banks are supported. So if you then run your payments file, you can get a file out into the form that your bank needs to just upload into the bank to then pay your suppliers. So it's a really nice joined up process that you have from an accounts payable point of view. And there also is now add-ons that are available in third-party solutions to be able to take that even further. So I pop in a purchase invoice, for example. I just want to open up a invoice. You can see here we have a save and attach button, which means we can attach the purchase invoice that has probably been emailed across to us. And we can also add in the likes of OCR software into the mix as well. So that's a really quick tour of the kind of financials modules. In the time remaining, I'll probably just look at some of the commercial modules. So looking at the likes of stock control, sales orders, and purchase orders. So how we look at our stock control processing map. So every stock item in Sage 200 will belong to a product group. And again, stock is where Sage 200 really starts to go to the next level in terms of being able to hold stock in multiple locations, being able to assign batch and serial numbers to stock, being able to then transfer the stock, and able to do stock takes on the stock. So you can really start to manage your warehouse and manage the stock you have available to customers. So have a wee look at our stock list. You can see here I've got lots and lots of stock items. You can see the quantity, the free stock, because some might be allocated. We can see here that we can transfer stock between different locations. We can assign batch and serial numbers if we wanted to. So great if you're selling the likes of, we've got a customer, for example, who sells pharmaceuticals, so kind of tablets and things. So of course they need to be batch tracked in case there are any issues from the supplier or anything that means they need to be recalled. So really important for them that there's batch numbers associated against anything that's produced. So that's all available within Sage 200. And there's lots of really nice views that we have within Sage 200 that we can get a really accurate view of what's happening within our stock. So we can see the buying prices for a stock item, we can view open purchase orders, and get a quick view of any sales orders and allocations that have been made. We can view the balances, what we've got at each location, and if we do need to start reordering because there is a minimum and maximum stock level that we can add to our stock items. We can view the batch and serial history and just even the general history of the item. So there's lots and lots that we can run from within the stock module, and that's before we even get to the list of reports that we can run based on those batch and cereals, the profit that each stock item makes us. There is a whole host of reports that can be run from our stock. So it's really an all-encompassing module that really starts to take the financials. So you've got that financials area of Sage 200, but the stock then elevates that even further. And I guess the main thing is, again, as I said right at the beginning, everything is all integrated, which is so vitally important. You're not running a separate stock system outside of your financials. It's all within the one system in one database. Now, one thing I didn't mention is you can actually have more than one company. So if you had more than one company in the group and you wanted to run each separately, you can certainly change company. You can have up to 999. I'm not sure if anyone on the call today would have that many, but you can certainly change between companies if you wanted to keep separate ledgers for each different company that you run within the system. Okay, so probably the last area, that was a really quick kind of tour, or not even tour, quick run through of what's available within Sage 200 from a stock point of view. Now, of course, we could sit for probably hours and go through the stock control module and what it can offer. So by all means, if you would want to learn more about what's in here and go through some of these processes, by all means, I'm more than happy to give a full demonstration of that. How that then links to other areas of the system is within our order processing. So if we look at purchase orders to begin with, I'll open up our process map to show you how a purchase order can run through Sage 200. So it can actually start before we even get to entering a new order. We can start before then with requisitions. So we could raise a purchase requisition. We can see here, I want to order some stock. Don't really care who the supplier is. All I know is I want to buy a phone, for example, and I don't care who it's buying for, so who it's bought from, sorry. So you can raise a requisition that then goes through this whole process of being approved. So you can enter new orders, we can get those authorised. So if it's over a certain amount, it can go to someone for approval. Can then print the orders, we can confirm the goods received and do a three-way match. So we can match against the goods received note and then match against the purchase order itself when we get the invoice through. And then we can go through, record the purchase invoice, and then go on to pay the supplier like we saw with the payment process routine. And that's the same when it comes to returns. And the same goes for when we look at sales orders as well. It has a similar sort of feel where we can start from a quote, or we can start from an order, or we can even import our orders into the system via the likes of Basincly, which I'd mentioned in the beginning. We could integrate the e-commerce solutions, and we can go through this whole process of amending the order, acknowledging the customer's order, allocating stock if there's stock involved, printing off the picking list, picking the goods, and then confirming the goods dispatched, and then getting through to that invoicing stage of invoicing our sales order. So always available within Sage 200 from a purchasing point of view and a sales point of view. So we can go through the whole order to cash process and the whole procure to pay process as well, in terms of entering our orders, getting the invoice or getting the invoice in or out and getting those paid, and then updating the ledgers accordingly to then run a profit and loss. So it's an all-encompassing system that can pretty much cover all bases of stock, ordering, and also your kind of core financials. The one area that I wanted to just show before we finish off today is that we can also access Sage 200 from the web as well. So it's not a full-blown Sage 200, but Sage over the last couple of years have really invested a lot of time and a lot of effort into making Sage 200 more accessible. Sage is run on a full SQL database, which makes the system really industrial strength. But there has been efforts to be made to get the system more accessible remotely. So if you're working at home or working on a tablet, you can access Sage 200 from a web browser. So if I go into Sage 200, you can see I am on a browser here, Google Chrome, and I've got access to our nominal, we've got access to sales orders, purchase orders, stock control, so we can enter orders online, we can put purchases in online. So it's just giving you that extra dimension of accessing the system. You can see it's slightly laid out slightly differently, but it's all the same data that will be run from your SQL database. So it's just to give that option. You can run it from your desktop, which I've been doing most of the morning, but you can also run Sage 200 from the web browser as well. And of course, if you want to go through this or indeed any of the functionality that we kind of quickly went through this morning in more detail, I would be more than happy to do so in our session. So what I'll do is I'll just pop back to our slideshow and say thank you very much for your time this morning. I think I've done a little bit over in terms of the time, but thank you for sticking with us. And as I say, if there's any questions, please do pop them into the chat, and those will be picked up by my colleague Jamie, and I'll get those answered. And if you do want to have a more in-depth session around Sage 200, see more about the system, conscious that we kind of glazed over some of the functionality, so we'd be more than happy to give a full demo if you think Sage 200 might be something that you're considering in the future. So once again, many thanks for joining us this morning, and if there are any questions, please do ask away. Thank you.